Chronos. So that might be a problem. I like the flexibility of the Golgari charm. I think the Vamp links are a little too specific. Whereas there are other matchups I can bring in the Merklurks, I can't really justify bringing in... Like, you can bring in Merklurker against most Bolt decks, Lightning Bolt decks, and you're fine. The Vamp links are specifically and only for burn. And specifically only for Eidolon. I'm pretty sure Eidolon would take a nice dump on our deck, though, if they resolved one or two. But that doesn't mean that I want so much of this card that's only for that one matchup. Go for the Throat's sweet. If you know you're up against Spellskites. Like, if you know you're up against Infect, it is great. I'd like a 1 of Deglamor just so I have a single answer, reasonable answer to Chronos. What Deglamor does, if you're not familiar with the card, it says choose target artifact or enchantment. It says choose. Its owner shuffles. Looks like an interesting deck, says killer. It is killer. It was brutal. We were rocking it earlier today. I think the Vamp link's too specific. I like the idea of go for the throat, Cav. You're on the right thought process. I already built it, Kev. It wasn't working. I already built it. I already built it. I built it with gifts and it didn't work, and then I built it with you guys only saw the gifts version. I didn't show you the black green version. I wasn't sure what other color I wanted to splash into it. Well, Killer, maybe we were supposed to build it gifts and this other card I didn't mention. Let me finish. There's another card I was testing with the Soul Flare. It sets up Soul Flare exactly. Check this out. It was this card, Killer Cav. I was setting it up like this. So Gerard's Orders, it's a lot of mana, but if you're running like Ramp, Viable, like Sylvan Caryatid, so they can't interact with it. Ramp that they can't interact with, Sylvan. So I was running Sylvan and Gerard's Orders. So Gerard says, search your library up to 2 creature cards, reveal them, put one into your hand and the other into the graveyard. So you put the Soul Flare into the hand, and then you put the card with all the affixes you want for the Soul Flare into the graveyard, and then, you know, the next turn you would... Yeah, Gerard's Orders was probably better for it than the gifts, although I love gifts much, much more. But the Gerard's Orders was better for the Soul Flare. It was cool. I just don't own the best creatures to be doing stuff with the Soul Flare, if you ask me. Now, the Sylvan Caryatid has several functions. The Sylvan Caryatid... Soul Flare has seen success in Standard. Yeah, I can see that. The Sylvan Caryatid is important because it has hexproof. Soul Flare, thankfully, won't take on the Affix Defender. It can't. If you read Soul Flare... It will only take on the affixes listed on the card. It will only take on Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death, Touch, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Reach, Trample, Vigilance. So it'll only take on one of those affixes. I think it's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 different affixes that Soul Flare can take on, can gain from delving. So that's where they're useful. Outside of ramping you, I noticed that it was really cool to have them in the deck just for the hexproof. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. If I lost anybody, just let me know. It was a really cool deck. It didn't work though, Killer Cat. But you're welcome to brew with it, man. I think the Vamp link's too specific. Because the Merklurk I can bring in pretty much any Lightning Bolt match, whereas that's only good against specifically Eidolon. It's a little too specific. It's a little too specific for my taste. What was it? I wanted one more card in the sideboard, right? Deglamor for Chronos. Fulminator, Eternal Witness, Happy Synergy, Walk some lands. There's one more card I wanted to run. We've got the Third Thoughtseize in the sideboard, a Devour Flesh for like Bogles, Pact for Twin, a Surgical for graveyard decks, Illness for Twin or tokens. What else do I want? It doesn't play. There is something. The sad thing about Illness is it doesn't play nice with Grave Titan and Swag Tusk. It doesn't play nice with them. You know, with all the Terminate being run, and technically Path is seeing some play right now, I might want to run something spicier than even Titan post-board. I mean, another creature that really would love the Plasm Capture. We could run one more card that synergizes really well with Plasm Capture. Just trying to think what it would be. No, I've got it. It would be yeah, I mean, we totally could run a Go for the Throat, though, if we're worried about enemy spell skites and getting around the spell skites to hit the important cards. So for that reason, I think a Go for the Throat's a total reasonable option. I think Grave Titan's sweet. This might be a totally reasonable sideboard card. I've seen some people even main deck Go for the Throat right now. I don't know if I love that, but I'm certainly down for Go for the Throat once I know they're like Infect. Something that's going to be running spell skites, and I'd rather be able to. Yeah, I was thinking. It's funny you said that. That's exactly what I was thinking. Was Aetherling. Why don't we stop trying to live the pipe dream of Grizzle Daddy, and why don't we run something a little more reasonable? I think it's really sweet. I think that we, due to the fact that Plasm Capture isn't working properly, this is achievable, but I think it's greedy. And I think, because you know what else is best cast on almost that much mana? Aetherling. I don't know if I want to main deck this bad boy, but it's certainly powerful. Now, Aetherling is best played on 7 mana or more, and that's where the Plasm Capture comes in. The reason that a lot of people don't play this card in Modern, even though it's totally degenerate and awesome, as far as dodging all the Terminates and paths and whatnot that you're going to be seeing, or even Wraths. The benefits of this card, if you Plasm Capture and you have the extra mana to blink it multiple times the turn it comes out, they probably won't be able to remove it. So this is Spice. I don't know if I'd main deck this guy. He's going to be also in this pile because he's not going to be here. We're going to want to cast him when we have a lot more mana to pour into it, to be able to blink it multiple times. I think it's a sideboard card, though. I think that we have something here more main deckable. For sure. But I really like the prospect of a Singleton Aetherling in the list. I think I'd sooner run, oh, I don't know, Devour, Go, the Third Thoughtseize. E-Witness is flexible. Hey, Eternal Witness is pretty flexible. Can act like a value engine that's not spell snareable. It's a lot of spell snare floating around, so kind of be like another Snapcaster effect that wouldn't get hit by this spell snare. One of these cards is main deckable, though. I'm just trying to figure out which one. I don't like that the Thragtusk and the Grave Titan don't play very nicely alongside Illness. But if I'm bringing an Illness, it does something awesome in the matchup. It must. Which of these cards is main deckable? Maelstrom Pulse? Just an all-around flexible answer. I kind of like E-Witness better post-board, right? When we're bringing in a lot of one-ofs. And they're not necessarily like Illness. Like if I bring this in and somebody like Thought Seizes it, I'm like, oh. Or Inquisitions it, I'm like, oh. Well, at least there's a chance to get it back, you know? These guys go really well together. Just because I don't own another Fulminator. These guys can go well, quite well together. Obviously, Kolaghan's Command plus Snapcaster plus Fulminator recurs it much, much more. I'm not really in the color combination to do that. I'm not. Now, we're in green for the Abrupt Decays. We're in green for Swag Tusk, Plasma Capture. I really like the Prospective Aetherlin, though, as a sideboard threat. Just wouldn't main deck it necessarily. It might be main deckable. It might. It might just like another kill spell. I mean, Maelstrom Pulse is pretty flexible. I mean, it's... E-Witness is going to be nice in more matchups than Thoughtseize. Yeah, I'm fine having the third Thoughtseize in the sideboard. I am. You think just main decking the E-Witness just as another value card? I'm leaning towards the E-Witness. I don't think it's the Pulse. I think it's the E-Witness. I think it's out of all of these cards, it feels like it's the most main deck worthy. We're gonna run it. I'm happy with that. Yeah. Anyway, let me. All of that was literally just to do this for you guys. So if you wanted to maybe mess around with the deck, obviously, you know, if somebody complains, it's not my fault. I am not the one who programmed Moto the way it's been programmed. I am not the reason that Plasma Capture is not working as intended, etc., etc. I feel like we've really beaten this horse quite dead at this point, but you get the point. Card's not working as intended. If you want to abuse it, I had nothing to do with it. If you want to complain to Magic Online that it's not working like it's supposed to, go ahead. It's not going to make me too sad, even though I want to mess around with it a little longer because we did build the deck. It's really fun. The extra mana is enjoyable. It's not necessarily game-breaking. Sometimes you don't draw more than one plasma. That's true. Well, how does... What? Oh, you're saying E-Witness the plasma? That's... okay. Reasonable. Yeah, point of interest, it's hard to snap Plasma Capture or snap Cryptic. It's hard. That's 6 mana. Whereas you could go, oh, okay, well, I Plasma Capture, and then you're like, oh, I'm on 5 mana. I can't quite snap Plasma, but maybe I'll just E-Witness it back to my hand and set it up next turn. I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, I think Eternal Witness is let me show you a deck concept real quick. I missed this deck. It's not played anymore, but I missed this deck. It might come back. It might come back. You guys familiar with Eternal Command? You guys familiar with this deck? I wish this deck would come back. This was a very powerful deck. So Eternal Command. It was these three basic. Yeah, this is actually perfect. So this sums up the deck right here. Yep. So let's talk about it. So versatile deck, play tempo or control, tempo, multiple cryptic commands or remands to stall the opponent. Using Cryptic over and over again, this ability to recur Cryptic is one of the most powerful late game things you can do in the modern format. This recursion can either lock the opponent out of the attack step, prevent them from resolving spells per turn. How it works. Cards you witness and play, Cryptic in hand, Cryptic you return the witness to hand, other three. Use the other three modes of the Cryptic to your benefit, obviously whichever mode makes more sense. You can